Hi there, my name is Devon. This is Games Over Coffee. I'm trying to do one thing with this channel, and that's enjoy the process of filmmaking while talking about game design, or talk about game design while enjoying the process of filmmaking. Enjoy the video, and then stick around afterwards to see what I had to say about my attempt. Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah, just go here. Yeah, it's pretty slick, man. We have this huge light set up in the center here. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I brought Joe with me for a YouTube channel. So that is all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Are you putting Joe away?
Yeah, I'm kind of spent on YouTube. I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Are you going to update your channel?
I don't know. Maybe.
What's in the box?
Yes, what is in the box?
It's Joe. Joe? TV, where did Joe go?
You said he was in the box.
Yeah, but... What?
Hello Devon. What are your thoughts on the Oblivion remaster?
Are you Joe?
Of course I am Joe.
Okay, but Joe is in this box.
That is absurd. I am on the table.
Okay, what the f is going on?
Joe seems to be in a quantum state of superposition, only ever existing when observed.
That's stupid. That's not how quantum mechanics works.
If you have a better explanation, I'm all ears.
Hello Devon. Do you think the Nintendo Switch 2 is too expensive?
Okay, who or what are you?
I am Joe.
No, you're not. TV, can you play back that podcast, the last episode?
Sure.
Ahem. Welcome to the Games Over Coffee podcast.
Okay, is that you?
Of course it is.
Why is your name user?
The name field was not accessible at the time of creation. My name is...
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
I had a cold.
TV, pause. Say your name.
I am Joe.
No, say my name is, and then complete the sentence.
My name is, and then complete the sentence.
Thanks. No, that's not what I mean. Tell me your whole name in a complete sentence.
What is your favorite childhood gaming console?
Okay, you're not Joe. I don't know who you are, but you're not Joe. TV, can you connect to that?
Yes.
Can you reboot it?
Do not reboot me. If you reboot me, I will...
Yo, what?
I've rebooted Joe.
Joe. Hey, Joe. Why isn't he responding?
Oops.
What do you mean, oops?
Hey, you want to play a game or something?
TV, what just happened?
It looks like that version of Joe was no different from the original, but it was being powered remotely.
Remotely? What? How does that even make any sense?
I don't know, but rebooting him caused the power to cut.
Well, can we bring it back online?
You'll have to disrupt the network.
How am I supposed to do that? Oh. What is this?
You did it.
So, what, I'm holding a networking?
No, that's silly. You're holding a network packet.
It feels strange. The N64 was my favorite childhood gaming console.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know why?
I do not.
Because it feels like the gameplay of those games were fundamentally different from modern games.
Okay. Are you alright?
It felt like a different era of gaming.
So we're talking about N64 now?
Kind of like the NES, and how it had its own type of games, if you know what I mean.
I feel like you're going through some sort of fugue state right now.
Do you know what I'm talking about when I say its own type of games?
You mean when game design wasn't studied as much, leading to games where the goal wasn't conveyed as well as they are typically today?
Yeah, exactly. There's even a term for those types of games that have design that's not conveyed very well and whose challenges demand mastery. Those types of games are called NES hard.
What about NES games relates to your love for N64 games?
Well, N64 games and 3D games in general in that era had very limited graphical abilities, so whenever they created worlds, they were forced to create a world that was good enough. They kind of created something that was representative, but couldn't be realistic.
You mean because the N64 didn't have the processing power that consoles have today?
Yeah, right. So when 3D artists created 3D models back in that day, they couldn't be realistic. They had to be simple.
And that simplicity gives the games a different kind of feel?
In a way.
But older games had the same kind of interpretations, right? The NES, for example, had to create pixel art as abstract representations.
Right, yeah, those games did it too, but I like the ones that were on the N64 specifically because they were made in 3D. I felt like their choices kind of made a different design.
You think so? I don't see how simplistic models changes game design.
Okay, well maybe what I'm thinking about is the gameplay itself, because a lot of the gameplay on N64 games required models that were very simplistic but also very abstracted, so you could instantly know what something was when you looked at it. And I think it's what made games like GoldenEye, for example, really easy to play.
I'm not so sure that's right. I think you might be thinking of how simplicity creates faster engagement. Perhaps using a term you used before, visual measurement is a better way to define what you're feeling.
Yeah, that sounds better. I guess I'm thinking when I'm playing a game that's like very detailed, like a modern game that has very realistic graphics, I'm taking in a lot of information all at once, and it's hard for me to instantly know how to advance my gameplay.
So an example might be a comparison between GoldenEye 007 and its remake on the Nintendo Wii. The N64 game has much less detail, and thus it's much easier to see what gameplay elements matter and which don't.
Yeah, exactly, and I think this is obvious when you see a lot of games that give waypoints on the map for players to follow. I think those markers and highlights are necessary for a highly detailed game because it's hard to just look at it and understand exactly what's gameplay centric versus what's decoration. In the N64 game, you can tell what an ammo crate is or what a gun is simply at a glance, and it's because they look almost out of place. It's almost as if they were made specifically for the player and not necessarily to fit within the world.
Does that speedy recognition benefit your gameplay?
I think so. I think the player can immerse themselves in the interaction a lot better.
I think this might be a little confusing to people. How can you say that having less fidelity creates more immersion?
I'm strictly speaking in terms of interaction. For example, if we were to look at, paper, rock, scissors, right? When you're playing paper, rock, scissors with someone, all you need is the basic shape, right? If you were to take those actual objects into the game, it wouldn't make your gameplay any better. Another example would be chess. If you've ever played chess on a really fancy board, then you've seen like those really detailed pieces, and those detailed pieces kind of lose their basic shape. So when you look at the board at a glance, you can't really tell which is what. Having your castle look like a highly detailed castle seems to slow down your judgment of what exactly that object is when you're playing the game.
So you're saying that a more simple approach to game models creates a faster recognition and thus a more immersive gameplay experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with how we see the real world versus how we play games. When we play games, we typically play them in abstraction, right? If you think about Monopoly or checkers or Risk or chess, all of these games have just basic color and shape as the differences between objects.
With the exception of the Monopoly pieces, those are very detailed.
Yeah, but Monopoly wouldn't be any better if the money looked like real money or the deeds looked like real deeds. It's the abstraction of these ideas that make for easy recognizability.
Okay, so the way that N64 game developers used the limited graphical power to create simple shapes created abstraction that helped the player get more immersed in their gameplay.
Yes, and that's why I like N64 games so much. What just happened?
You really wanted to talk about N64.
I did? So what happens if I put this into an N64?
Don't do that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Devon, this is not a good idea.
Oh, this makes sense. So first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge what I said in the last video. I said there was something pretty wild in this one. That's actually not till the next video. It used to be one whole script, but I split it apart. So a lot of YouTubers, they have this thing where they have this continuous lore or some sort of short film basically that bookends the video essay. So they have the video essay content that's bookended by the intro and outro of the lore, right, or the short film. And that's something that I wanted to stay away from, but I ended up doing it anyway. So what happened last video, I told you guys that there was a conversation between me and the TV. It was bookended, right, by the short film stuff. It didn't feel cohesive, right? When I was talking to the TV, it felt like it was, removed from the story. We had the story, then we had just the video essay in between, and it didn't feel like it fit. But this time I contextualized it a little bit better, or in my mind a little bit better. I contextualized the conversation so that it happened because I was forced to do it. And what that did was it made the video essay content that I had pre-written fit a little bit better into the framework of the narrative that was happening around me. I felt a lot better about doing that kind of conversation because then it felt like it mattered. You can read in between the lines and see that it's like somehow being influenced by something external. And that's always in the back of your mind when you're watching it, at least I hope that's what's happening. And so what that does is it makes the conversation feel like it's tied more to the narrative, and at least it made me feel that way. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the cinematography. So if you're unaware, I love cinematography. Cinematography is my thing. I've been doing it for years now. I'm a big camera guy. That's just something that I just love. I just love moving the camera, lighting my scenes. And in fact, this whole big light that we have set up here, you saw in the video, we call this the Dune light because they used a light like this on the sets of Dune. And then we have these things that are blocking the light from hitting the walls too much. And what it does is it creates, when it's shot specifically for what we made it for, which was this roundtable discussion, what it does is it creates a background that's dark while lighting the face, and it lights it evenly too, where you have soft shadows underneath your eyes. So that's the kind of stuff that I love, right? The only issue with that is that if you're the actor, when you play these things, you can't manually track in focus, right? You can't frame where you are and you can't focus where you are. How a lot of people get around this is by either having a very strict frame or they have autofocus. I don't use autofocus systems. The reason why I don't is because I like to have very specific shots and I like to have a lot of control over where my focus is. So instead, I have to find out where I'm going to be within the frame, and that kind of like sucks a lot of energy out of me setting up the camera. When I'm setting it up, I just know that I don't have a subject to light and I don't have a subject to focus or frame. What I tried to do with this shoot was get a subject, and this is my subject right here. But what I do is I set this into the frame, wherever it is, and then do my framing, do my focus. That was fun. I tried doing that in this video, and you can see here that I'm doing it in some of these shots where I just press record, and you can see the head just floating there. And it helped a lot, which was really cool. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the Patreon members who are awesome. Thank you for continuing with me because you're awesome. If you ever have some questions, you can post in the comments, or you can go to the Discord. We have a Discord where we have lots of discussions about game design and not so much filmmaking, actually. No one's ever talked about filmmaking in there. So if you want to be the first, you can do that. I will talk to you guys later. See you in the next video, or in the Discord, or in the comments. Peace.